This podcast is brought to you by Flipper, a marketplace to buy and sell websites, stores, and digital real estate. Plot your own path. Become a boss by buying a small online business at Flipper. Simply visit flipper.com/techtalks for a free consultation and 50% off fees. That's FLIPPA, flipper.com/techtalks. If you do visit, let me know how you get on. But now, let's get the show started.
Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where every day we explore how a different technology can deliver greater value for you, your business, industry, or indeed make a difference to our world. Now, please remember, I'm also currently hosting Switched On Thinking, a podcast with Netgear, and Tech Fusion with Citrix, which are both available on your favourite podcast player of choice. But don't go running off and leaving this show behind. This will always be my primary focus. And after discovering a really cool company recently called PrecisionHawk, which sounds a little bit like Street Hawk. Anybody old enough to remember that? But PrecisionHawk is the market leader of commercial drone analytics. And when I heard about them, I had to get them on the show to find out more. For example, when a utility embarks on a capital project, they're doing so to better serve their customers, comply with regulations, and or build the value of their asset network. And they are increasingly making drones a part of those efforts. But did you know that utilities are using drones across the capital project lifecycle? Whether to inventory assets, monitor current project work, or evaluate pre-completion performance. It's project managers that are achieving greater data breadth and precision by using this technology, which I just felt compelled to find out more about how it not only helps justify those CapEx spends, but also enables better project management. So I invited the market leader of commercial drone analytics onto the show today to learn more how they've seen firsthand the challenges of keeping utility asset databases up to date, and so much more. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Colorado so we can speak with Robert Henley, Vice President of Energy Solutions at PrecisionHawk. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure, Neil. I'm Robert Henley. I'm the Vice President of Energy Solutions at PrecisionHawk. We're a drone company. I have worked in the utility industry for 25 years. I've been in operations, engineering.
Fantastic. And on your website, it states that PrecisionHawk enriches data to empower action. So can I ask that you tell me a little bit more about how you accelerate, automate, and amplify data acquisition and analysis for enterprises to ultimately manage those physical assets?
Sure. So we basically have been working in developing different software solutions for about 10 years. And most recently, what we've been working on is basically taking information from different sensors, whether they be ground data sets or stuff from the air, meaning from drones, as well as satellite. And we can bring all that information into our software program, which is Precision Analytics. And what that software system can do is basically we've trained it using machine learning and AI to recognize different types of faults. And that can be displayed using a graphical interface to the user to identify areas of concern or risk, failures or assets that may not be where you expect them.
And we will have people listening all over the world, some inside this space and some outside this space, and learning about precision and drone analytics for the first time. So for people listening that are outside this space, can you tell them a little bit more about exactly what commercial drone analytics is, and in a language that everyone can understand, so we can try and get everyone listening on the same page today?
Yeah, sure. So I'm sure they're familiar with, many users are familiar with drones today. But we can use different types of sensors. We can use sensors that are high definition cameras that basically take very high density pixels so that you can get very clear images of different assets from great distances in some cases. And also we can use sensors like LiDAR, which is basically sending out light beams and then can 3D map and model these types of structures. And with that data set, we can bring it in and we can recreate 3D models, or we can train AI tools, artificial intelligence, to basically look for different types of failures or faults.
And I would love to put all this in a real world scenario just to help bring it all to life. So when a utility embarks on a capital project, they're doing so typically to serve their customer better, comply with regulations, and build the value of their asset network. And they're increasingly making drones a part of those efforts. So can you set the scene and talk a little bit about how utilities are using drones across that capital project lifecycle, and also how project managers achieve greater data breadth and precision, which I imagine just helps justify the dreaded CapEx spend, but it also enables better project management. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. So maybe it'd be helpful if I kind of went through a couple of scenarios. Sure. One of the big projects we're doing right now, it has to do with storms. So on the East Coast of the United States, we every year go through the cycle of severe weather, hurricanes and whatnot. And so over the years, I'm sure you've seen many damaged shorelines, infrastructure going out, power lines coming down. And so one of the projects we're working with one of our customers is what we call a pole hardening program. In this program, we basically go out and we use different sensors from RGB, which is pictures, or we pair it with LiDAR. And LiDAR, basically, we basically scan the whole system, the electrical grid, their distribution models, and then we can feed that into an engineering tool that basically runs algorithms that can tell whether, and we can put in predictive failure models. So for instance, there's what the utility companies want to know is what wind speeds is likely to cause a failure on their system. And so this hardening program, basically, we run these algorithms through the program, and we can put in a wind speed, like let's say 150 miles per hour. And then we can basically run in an engineering tool that basically identifies which poles are likely to fail at those wind speeds. And so that gives the utility company a leg up on figuring out which poles need to be addressed instead of just going through systematically and replacing or upgrading every pole. Now they know exactly where to spend their capital dollars on which systems they need to upgrade or move hardware off the poles. So that's one aspect. Another one we're working on the West Coast, where we get a lot of fires, we're working on an inspection program where we're actually, last year we did detailed visual inspections using a drone of over 50,000 structures, transmission structures. And then those images can go in and we can have engineering teams look at those images from a desktop environment instead of trucking around in some of the remote regions of California trying to get to those assets. And so we have seen a much higher hit rate or a failure identification using the drone than we have traditional means of either helicopter inspections or ground crews.
Wow, that's incredible. Do you have any use cases or examples of the kind of results that you've been able to deliver up from them?
Sure. So when we talk about, this program where we looked at failures of poles, we found, on our pilot program where we did a smaller section of line, 77% of those poles were predicted to fail at a wind speed of 145 miles per hour. So that's one example of that program. On the visual images program, we saw anywhere between a 30 and 50% more findings from using a drone in the drone inspection than we did the traditional means of inspection. So, and it was a great use case, because we had basically a ground inspection going through, then we had a helicopter inspection, and then we had the drone. And still, after those two other inspections went before it, we still found 30 to 50% more issues with the drone inspection, primarily because we can get so many different angles with the drone that you just can't get from a ground or a climbing crew or the perspective of a helicopter. You can get below the lines with the drone.
And before you came on the podcast today, I did do a little bit of research and I found out some fascinating things. And for anyone that's not seen this, just to highlight the value that this technology is providing, can you tell me a little bit more about what you found during routine inspections for your utility clients? Because from what I read online, you found significant discrepancies there, didn't you?
Yeah, like I was just highlighting, in 50,000 inspections. So traditionally, utility companies either went out with a ground crew, and those ground crews can inspect, 2 or 3 structures in a day, whereas the drone crew were averaging between 12 and 18 structures in a day. And we're bringing back, many images. In the neighborhood of on a transmission structure, 500 kV, we're taking somewhere around 100 plus images of that structure. And so that analytics that go behind that, we ended up finding, like I said, 30 to 50% more findings from that type of inspection. On the pole hardening program, or we also have done a program where we actually looked at one of our vendors or one of our utility companies wanted to basically true up their data system, their GIS system. And on that project, basically what we were doing is we were doing a visual inspection, and then we would come back and we would pair that data with what they had in their original GIS system. And that hit rate, we found 30 to 50% errors in their data set from what they thought was in the field. And we've also had projects where we've identified, literally hundreds of poles that they didn't even realize that they did not have or captured or were incorrect in their system.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I'm curious, when you find discrepancies like that of, between 30 and 50%, can you tell me a little bit more about the solution that you implement and how much of a measurable difference that you're able to make? Because for many people listening, before they make that investment, they'll say you can only measure what you can improve. And it seems you find these significant discrepancies, but what happens next?
So what we like to do is we partner with our customers. So each one of these use cases is very tailored to the client themselves. Yeah. But what we do is, on a typical project, is we'll feed all this information into our precision analytics software solution. And then basically we can run the algorithms, we can identify the failures. It's in a GIS environment, so it's a graphical interface. And we can feed that back into the customer's data set, either into their SAP system or their GE Small World or whatever software solution they're currently working. So we work with them to basically either create a work ticket or bring it into their GIS system so they can visually maintain that data set. So we basically do the analytics on our software, and then we can port that information back into the user system so that they can work with it in their traditional means, whether or not they're scheduling the work out in the future or they're creating a work ticket for the next day or week. So that's the big value to it, is now they can bundle their work. So for instance, before, if they went out and they had a lineman and he's identifying one or two failures on a pole, then they come in and put a work ticket in, and then they basically go out and fix that work. Now what we're doing is, because of the speed at which we're doing the inspection, we can deliver larger packets of information to that customer, and then they can schedule that work. They can make the decision. They can bundle it so that they can send crews out to a specific location and do all the work at once. They don't have to keep sending the crews in and out. Some of these projects, the hardest part of the job is getting out there because they're such remote locations. So anytime we can help them to schedule that work so that they can bundle it, plan it, order ahead, and go out there and attack it and get it done under their own conditions, they can save a lot of money in doing that.
I've had countless emails from listeners over the last few weeks talking about their fears and concerns around job security, while also seeing their interest rates on their savings drop considerably. And as a result, many are beginning to look at how they can invest in their future in an uncertain time. Could digital assets be the answer? Now, you might remember that I spoke to Blake Hutchinson, CEO at Flipper, on episode 1194 about how to buy digital assets and websites. In a nutshell, Flipper is a marketplace that you can buy and sell websites, stores, and digital real estate that are just ready to go. So if you do have dreams of running your own successful online business, or perhaps you're looking to exit your existing online business, my friends at Flipper can help you buy and sell. So if you're interested and want to find out more, please visit flipper.com/tech talks. That's FLIPPA.com/tech talks for a free consultation and also 50% off all fees. But now, back to the interview. I love how you've got such a variety of use cases here and it's scattered across multiple industries. But if we stick with utilities, is there any other ways you can share of how their utilities are leveraging drone technology to not only improve their asset management systems, but also validate capital projects that are tied to their critical infrastructure?
Well, yeah, I'll give you another one that we do that usually, so many of the utility companies, they have veg management programs, meaning, trees or different types of vegetation is encroaching on the right of way. And that vegetation, it ends up causing fires and whatnot. If that branch in a high wind scenario blows down into the infrastructure, it can start a fire like we saw on the west coast of in California over the last couple of years, which results in major forest fires. So many of these companies have these veg management programs to manage and cut back that brush. Well, while we're doing these inspections, that just kind of falls out of the inspection. So not only can we save the company money by doing a detailed analysis and doing failure analysis of their asset, but we can also do an inspection, or they will have the data for that section of pipe that we were on, or pipe or transmission towers, of the veg encroachment, so that they can send teams out to do that work as well. So they can basically leverage what dollars they would have spent to do an inspection for just veg management. They can also use that same dollars because they're going to get that data already out of an inspection program. So that's one way in which they can budget share across different groups internally to basically leverage their capital dollars or their maintenance dollars. Another area we use with the utility industry is also we're doing a lot more methane detection with our oil and gas customers. So we're actually, greenhouse gas and those things are an important environmental concern today. We can also help identify areas using a drone and different sensors. We can also tune those to methane and different gas leaks, and we can then help them isolate areas of concern. Because, we can fly a lot farther with a drone than they would traditionally if they're just walking the system.
It's incredibly cool what you're doing here. But I've got to ask, where do you go from here? What's next for PrecisionHawk?
Well, we're excited because right now, we're really starting to see these different avenues, the convergence of these technologies coming together between the integration of the drone and the sensor sets that we have capability. And with our precision analytics tool, we're now training these models to do more. For instance, it's pretty exciting because we've been able to use some of the gaming algorithms to basically, where before it took literally thousands of images to train an AI system on how to detect a failure. Now, using different techniques, we can train the tool using synthetic data, which is really exciting because it's really shortening the cycle time from training an AI system to look for these different failures. And we're seeing, using these methods, a very high first run, because basically what an AI tool do, the way we work it is we collect data, we have humans go through it, we validate what it's coming up, and we continue the system keeps getting better and better as we have humans basically validate the findings of the AI tool. It gets smarter and smarter. And so, it's very exciting because we can collect more data, and, the hit rate of an AI tool going through a data set and eliminating, you can think about when we collected 50,000 structures, there's literally hundreds of thousands of images, and having an AI tool go through and take that first pass, and so that the engineer can target his attention into a much narrower area of concern instead of trying to look at tens of thousands of images. So that's pretty exciting. And then we have this beyond visual line of sight that we're working on in the U.S. And so flying farther than just line of sight with the drone is going to open up a whole nother avenue of things we can do with the drone. We'll be able to fly miles, do patrols. Another aspect of it is drone in a box. Basically position drones at critical points of your infrastructure where we can just send the drone out with nobody present and fly the drone from distant, from literally hundreds of miles away. We can send it out, have it do an inspection on automated flight path, and then return to the box and recharge and upload the data set remotely to the cloud. That's where we're headed, and it's pretty exciting territory.
Wow, there's so much I've learned from you today in just a few minutes, really. And it's easy to see why you guys are the market leader of commercial drone analytics. And you've seen firsthand the challenges of keeping utility asset databases up to date. But for anyone listening that would like to find out more information, keep up to speed with developments there, what's the best way of reaching out and contacting your team and visiting you online?
Yeah, so we have a web presence, so PrecisionHawk.com is our website. There's all kinds of ways to reach out from the website to get somebody, or you can send us an email at info@PrecisionHawk.com. And then, of course, you can always find me on the internet and connect with me via LinkedIn. And I love to have a conversation and help the customers find solutions for their different challenges they're faced with.
Well, I'll add those links to the blog post that will accompany this podcast episode today. But I've learned so much from you, and I hope that everyone listening, just hearing about drone analytics will spark their curiosity, imagination, and hopefully see the art of the possible ahead as well, because I think it opens up so many different opportunities and possibilities. But more than anything, Robert, just a big thank you for taking the time to share that story with me today.
Excellent. Thanks, Neil.
How cool was that? There are so many tech buzzwords these days, and some would argue drones is one of them. But what I loved about this episode was that just removing all of the BS and learning about how they're solving real problems with drones. So for me, learning how utilities are leveraging drone technology was quite an eye-opener. But hey, I do get excited every day doing this podcast. So I need you all to keep me grounded and let me know your thoughts, insights, and share your expertise too. So what were your takeaways? Email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk. You'll find 1,300 other tech interviews on there, links to my new book, TED Talks Innovation, and also links to those other 2 podcasts. But more than anything, I'd just like to hear from you all. So please, even if it's just a hello, send me a quick message. But that's it for me. So I'll see you all again tomorrow. So a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.